We have the story from the New York Post. Matt Walsh, in his new film, Am I Racist? This one, I think, may be better than What is a Woman? He hits this one out of the park. He tricked race, academic, whatever you want to call it, critical race theorist or whatever, Robin DiAngelo, into paying his black producer reparations. Apparently, she pulls money out and gives it to him. Oh, man. But you know what's really funny about this is I don't think she'll face any criticism on the left for this. She's going to be praised for having done it. From the New York Post. White fragility author Robin DiAngelo was hoodwinked into dipping into her own pocketbook to pay reparations to a black producer in it's so racist in Matt Walsh's upcoming documentary, Am I Racist? An undercover man bun wearing Walsh, 38. What? Matt Walsh is 38? Really? Is he really? He's 38. What? Matt Walsh is younger than me? What? That's the biggest shock I've heard. Not the story. It's that Matt Walsh is 3 months younger than me. Woof. I'm sorry. It's the Korean in me. I just can't grow the beard. So anyway, Matt Walsh goaded DiAngelo into ponying up the cash to his producer, Ben, to compensate for the sins of the past by first coughing up the money himself. Walsh, who had been conducting an interview with DiAngelo for a documentary project while feigning anti-racist sentiments and posing as an activist, summoned Ben after finishing up most of his questions. This is Ben, a producer on the film. I thought it would be a powerful opportunity to speak directly to a person of color and confront our racism and also apologize for the white supremacist system that oppresses Ben, Walsh began. Look at his pants. He's in disguise. DiAngelo, 68, followed suit saying, on behalf of myself and my fellow white people, I apologize. It's not you, it is us. As long as I am standing, I will do my best to challenge it. Walsh then announced that he'd pay Ben reparations if he'd accept it. Prompting his producer to quip, I mean, I won't turn it down. Walsh then handed Ben a few bills from his wallet. That doesn't make up for 400 years of oppression, but it's all that I have to give, Walsh said. Taking hold of the new cash, patting his wallet, Ben, fully in on the ruse, explained that he doesn't know if it's ever enough, but praised Walsh for putting in the work and acknowledged the small progress I think we made today. DiAngelo looked introspective and bewildered as it unfolded. That was really weird, a perplexed and nearly speechless DiAngelo gasped before formulating a response after Walsh asked, did you want to pay any? I think reparations is like a systemic, dynamic approach yet. I mean, I think there may be some people who would be offended by that. Ben explained that he wouldn't turn down cash. A solemn-looking Walsh then stressed the need to allow ourselves to be uncomfortable. Wow, man, bravo. This is something that I can do right now. And asked, why wouldn't I? I can go get some cash for sure. She relented after struggling to beat back Walsh and Ben's logic. I don't mind if that would be something that would be comfortable for you. After getting Ben's blessing, DiAngelo then walked over to her pocketbook, pulled out roughly $30 and told him, that's all the cash that I have. Holy crap. Thanks, a smiling Ben replied. When DiAngelo sat down with Walsh earlier in the documentary, she asked for quick information about who he was, noting that she has to be careful. DiAngelo's book, White Fragility, Why Is It So Hard for White People to Talk About Racism, hit bookshelves back in 2018 and helped her gain fame as a so-called anti-bias training expert. The New York Times best-selling tome features some controversial assessments of racism. She claimed that white people raised in Western society are conditioned into a white supremacist worldview because it is the bedrock of our society and its institutions. At another point, she wrote in the book, people of color may also hold prejudices and discriminate against white people, but they lack the social and institutional power that transform their prejudice and discrimination into racism. The impact of their prejudice on whites is temporary and contextual. Ironically, back in 2021, DiAngelo scored $12,750, a speaking fee at the University of Wisconsin's Diversity Forum, considerably more than the $7,500 paid to its black female keynote speaker, Austin Channing Brown. Ain't that funny? More recently, DiAngelo has faced accusations of plagiarizing passages from minority scholars in her doctoral thesis, according to a complaint obtained by the Washington Free Beacon. We'll grab that one. The Post reached out to DiAngelo for comment. Walsh's documentary is set to hit the silver screen on September 13th and marks the Daily Wire's first flick to release in movie theaters. I think What is a Woman was in theaters, wasn't it? The film is intended to function as a deconstruction of the anti-racism movement, similar to how its 2022 documentary, What is a Woman, examined gender ideology under a critical lens. He went undercover and feigned a deep search into his soul to investigate the movement. Walsh's documentary also featured him crashing a high-dollar race to dinner in which he cajoled liberal white women at the table to raise their glasses and toast to being racist. Yo, this one's looking really good. It looks like it's going to be bigger and better than What is a Woman? And this is probably one of the best things that Daily Wire has done. The Daily Wire is trying to get in the culture game, and they need to, because someone's got to build it. They've got better cultural values than the institutions. And with What is a Woman, Matt has probably done more to call out the absurdity of woke gender ideology than anyone else. And with Am I Racist, it looks like they're set to do something similar for this quote-unquote anti-racist, end quote, well, already quote-unquote anti-racist movement, which it's literally just racism. They try to change the definition of the words so that they can create racial animosity. I'll tell you what I want. I want a big, beautiful American melting pot, but it's got to be under the American umbrella. Okay. So if you were, as I mentioned earlier, okay, I am older than Matt Walsh. I did not know that. But because I am part Asian, I cannot grow the beard. I lament this fact. I'm half kidding, although Matt has a stylish beard. I grew up at a time where we still had the old remnants. I should put it this way. I grew up at the end of this old world, the remnants of how these structures used to be. Block busting and redlining are racist real estate practices that existed into the 80s. But I was growing up at the end of that. And so the laws had been placed to shut these things down, but the practices still exist, and they still exist to this day in some form or another. So I'm just saying, like Tucker Carlson said, he was accused of claiming that white people are being replaced. And he was like, I never said white people. Like black Americans' interests are the same as white Americans' interests. And that's kind of the point. I don't care where you're from. I like immigration. I just think it's got to be controlled. We can't just open the floodgates and say anybody come do whatever you want. The system that they've built, people like Rob and DiAngelo, creates racial tension and makes people hate each other. So I remember I had a buddy of mine, this dude that I knew in Chicago, and this is back during Obama's first term. He's a black dude. And we were at a skate jam, and he had family there, and I think it was his grandma, and she was just like, are you going to be voting for Obama? And he's like, I don't know, maybe. He's like, you have to vote for him. It could be the first black president. And he said, does that mean he's a good president? And I was just like, yeah. I was like, that's what I'm talking about, man. That's the real anti-racist statement. Just because Obama was black, that's why you're going to vote for him? I get it. Like, I understand that it's an older woman who experienced all this racist stuff, and now it's an opportunity for a visual change. But, it's a double-edged sword. I'll put it this way. You can't come from this world growing up with actual racism in the civil rights movement, which I get. It's bad stuff, because I didn't grow up in that. I grew up after they started banning it, though some of it still exists, right? Like, my family got attacked by racists. They vandalized our house and stuff like that. But we grew up saying we don't want race to be that issue. We want character and values to be that issue. These people are trying to bring it back. They're trying to go back in time to when people were looking at each other and hating each other based on race. I don't want to be there. And so what they demand is a black female president. That's what we have to have happen. And I'm like, no, we just need a good president, and we need to not judge people based on immutable characteristics that don't define their character. Certainly, there's a lot of people who argue, yes, but I look at pattern recognition. And because I see patterns, by all means, macro level pattern recognition, fair point, except it doesn't apply to the individuals. So I don't think the law should be equal, like people should be protected. I think that, I've had the libertarian argument is that businesses should be able to do whatever they want. If they want to ban someone who's black, let them just go out of business then. And I'm like, I don't agree. You're going to get enclaves. We don't want that to be the case. I'm a fan of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, but it's these people who are abusing all of that to their own ends. The world they would put together is going to eliminate distinctions between genders so that men are protected the same as women, but that non-whites get preferential treatment in government over whites, and the argument that whites have been benefited for too long, and then you got a poor white guy living in a trailer wondering why he can't get a loan or go to school. These things happen. The worst part about it is Asians, this is the thing that bothers me the most. Hey, maybe because I'm Asian. They told, when the scandal with Harvard, I think it was Harvard, was that Asians had to score really high in SATs to get in, then white people, but black and Hispanic SAT scores were actually given a handicap. They were given a boost if they scored less. Like, so they only had to score 1,000 or 700 or whatever, I forgot the numbers, and Asians had to score like 1,300. So there's some poor Asian kid living on the south side of Chicago, and he says, my dream is to go to Harvard. And then some Democrat politician says, oh, don't be silly, honey. You can't go to Harvard. You look too much like those people. That's insanity. That's the world they want. That was affirmative action. That makes no sense. There are stupid people who are Asian. There are smart people who are Asian. And there are stupid and smart people of all different backgrounds. The idea that because some Asians do well, or many, that because like you're going to handicap all Asians. This is why I am looking forward to Matt Walsh ripping apart their machine and mocking it brutally. So smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, share the show with your friends. Become a member at timcast.com if you'd like to support our work. We got a lot of stuff happening. This is the frame, my friends. This is the great battle of the 2024 election. It's involving lawfare. It's involving, let's just say, surreptitious schemes from bad actors. And I imagine it'll only get worse. So if you want to see this show continue, timcast.com, click join us, become a member, because the weight and the burden, it is heavy. You know, and I'll tell you, it's we are a decently sized podcast operation. A lot of these bigger podcasts have small crews, maybe 3 or 4. We are looking to invest and expand, and we are doing that. And that's why we have several shows like Pop Culture Crisis, Tales from the Inverted World, Boonies HQ, and it's difficult. I'm not kidding. I work 16-hour days, my friends. I wake up, I do the morning show. I'm going to go exercise, then eat, and then get ready for the night show for Timcast IRL. Then by 11:30 or whatever, I'm in bed to wake up at 7 and get it all going again. So I appreciate your support. We'll be back tonight at 8 p.m. for Timcast IRL. I'm going to read super chats for those that are watching live. For the rest of you, we'll see you tonight at 8 p.m.